Okay, I can speak now to David Dunn, Professor of International Politics at the University of Birmingham. Great to have you on, David. If more countries in the region join the Abraham Accords, what will that mean for peace in the Middle East?
Well, there are two aspects to the Abraham Accords. First of all, it's the normalisation of relations and the removal of hostility. So if Syria and Lebanon were to join, which is being talked about, and Saudi Arabia, what that does is it moves towards a more normal situation. And another driver of the Abraham Accords is that actually it's about economic integration. And if those economies could integrate and benefit from each other's investment and trade, that would raise living standards in the region. And that's a way of actually also normalizing relations with Israel, because Israel is the most dynamic economy, most wealthy economy in the region, and its investment in the region is seen as a price worth paying for that economic prosperity that would follow.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking essentially about, making relations better in financial terms, in business terms, which to me seems a little strange because a couple of the countries you mentioned there, Syria, Lebanon, Israel was bombing them not long ago. It carried out assassinations in Beirut. So for them to turn around and say, let's have friendly relations, what do they get out of that? Is it going to be recognition, for example, of, as was suggested by a correspondent, perhaps a Palestinian state?
Well, I mean, the thing that stopped the Abraham Accords from being further developed is that the conditionality put on by Saudi Arabia and others that can only happen, that Saudi Arabia can only recognize Israel as a legitimate country in the region if the two-state solution is advanced. So it's a package that will involve all of these. It will be about having regional powers, the UAE and Egypt, taking over the governance of Gaza, paying for the reconstruction of Gaza, a settlement on the West Bank, and a settlement with Syria over the Golan Heights. So these are not easy things to do, but the suggestion is all of these things together could bring a wider regional settlement and an end to all the conflicts that have been a part of Israel's existence, particularly for the last 2 years, but really since 1948. And that's the big goal of this comprehensive recognition, trade deals, security guarantees, and an end really to the pervasive role of Iran in the surrounding and threatening Israel as part of that, and that's part of how we've got to this point. But that's the idea as behind this. I mean, it does seem implausible, as you suggest, given that these countries were being bombed until recently. But changes in government, changes of outlook, allow this to be considered.
Francesca Albanese, who's the UN's Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the Palestinian territories, and we're hoping actually to speak to her in a few minutes' time. We're trying to get her on the line. Now, she said that countries should be imposing trade bans on Israel because of the horrendous genocide that it's carried out. This sounds to me like the opposite. It's fostering more trade, better business relations. So is this, I mean, are we sure this is the right direction to be going in? Because the suggestion from the UN is that Israel should be punished, in a sense, economically for what it's done.
Well, there's no question that there is a huge amount of international and widespread public opinion that is very critical of the way in which Israel has behaved in the Gaza Strip. Over 50,000 Palestinians have been killed. There is this suggestion that the use of force was unreasonable, and actually the weaponization of food getting to the Palestinians is also an allegation against Israel. So there's no question that in terms of many countries, particularly in the UN General Assembly and many parts of Europe, there are huge criticisms of Israel in general and Netanyahu and his government in particular. However, there seems to be a willingness in the region more broadly, which is embraced by Mr. Trump and his administration, to actually go beyond those issues and try and seek this broader regional agreement. So what we find is, whereas Netanyahu is banned from going to Europe, he is invited to the White House next week to meet with Trump and to try and put this wider deal together. So the Americans are taking a less principled, you could argue, more pragmatic approach to this. They have always been much more willing to forgive Israel for its successes. But that's where the diplomatic initiatives and momentum is now, rather than with the UN and the critics of Israel for its failings.
David, good to speak to you. Appreciate you coming on for us. David Dunn is a Professor of International Politics at Birmingham University.